Hello and welcome to the VR Untethered podcast, your untethered source of weekly, or your weekly source of untethered weekliness.
Unsource? We're the weekly unsource? We're going to drain all your knowledge.
Yeah. Um, I'm not Brad, that's not Josh, but I am Josh and that is Brad, so.
That is true. We've managed that quite neatly.
And you are you, I hope. Unless you're not you, in which
Also,
case you're not.
in which case you won't be knowing that you're hearing this.
Yeah. Alright, so, all that weirdness out of the way, let's get started with the highlights of the week. Brad, what were your highlights?
My highlights this week were the fact that they released so many games in August. July. I'm praying that no games get released until October.
I was going to say, how many games have they released in August so far? It's only August 1st.
Well, those are the ones I'm thinking about. No, I was just going back over the games I purchased in July, which made Zuckerberg even wealthier than he would have been. This week, I think my highlight would be In Death. That was really hard to break away from, especially as my friends kept getting higher and higher scores, and I just was in there wondering how long can someone possibly play this game at one time.
Until the quest dies. Maybe.
Or your arm, depending on which bow you choose.
Right.
And also, I was looking forward to the archery contest, and I did not realize that nothing I shot with my crossbow counted.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure that's a good thing. That seems like a bug. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm really not happy with that because there's a whole different style of shooting with the crossbow and a regular bow. And if you want to have a bow contest, announce it as just
right
longbow or the crossbow.
Right.
But do it at the beginning of the tournament, not after you've been participating for,
Right. Yeah. It should have been announced that that only counts longbow shots.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
So, but other than that, it's a great game. I mean, they really did some amazing stuff because when I played that on PC VR, it wasn't as engaging as it is in the Quest.
Right.
The Quest really does make it addictive.
Yeah. Are you using only the teleport, or are you using the smooth locomotion also?
I'm using a combination of all of them.
Okay.
Because they really do all have a spot.
Yeah. Does the smooth locomotion make you nauseous at all, or is it done well so that it doesn't make you nauseous, or?
It's done well. Actually going down the steps at one point, I was gliding. I felt like I was a ghost. I'm walking down the stairs and it's just like, woo!
Right.
That was kind of strange. But you do get, when you're walking up steps, you get the little motion like that.
Okay.
I never got nauseous, but I don't use it all the time. It's like you really do need to use a combination of the transport arrow, the shard, and teleport. And they all work well together.
Right.
I wouldn't want to lose any one of them.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah. Sounds good. I was going to say that's one thing that I like about Altspace and that I don't like about Rec Room is in Altspace you can use the smooth locomotion or the teleporting at any time. You can be smooth locomoting and go, this is taking forever, and then just teleport 20 feet ahead. Right. And then go right back into smooth locomotion. In Rec Room, if you want to do that, you would have to look at your wrist to pull up your watch and then go into settings and change your locomotion type. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. And that was what I was afraid was going to happen because they just patched In Death.
Right.
And I figured that was going to be the problem.
Right.
But I really find that all three are really working well together. I mean, there's still a little glitchiness, but for the amount of time that it's been out, it's a very solid game. And I haven't heard anybody complaining. Oh, yeah, you would love it. I mean, really, you like Apex, so you would love this.
Yeah, I would. Who knows? Maybe if I started today, I'd be higher than you by the end of the day.
Don't say that. I'm already
No,
upset.
I probably wouldn't.
It does seem to be time-based, though. You're right. I'm looking at it, and it definitely seems to be time-based.
Well, I think I worded that a little bit wrong in our conversation earlier. I don't mean that going by how long you have played that and just converting that to a store or a score. I just mean that there is a cumulative effect, and so the longer you have been playing, the more of a head start you got.
Right.
You know.
Right, because as you progress, the enemies get more difficult. Your score gets higher by geometric proportions.
Right.
So what you might have gotten 100 points for on the first level, you can now get 800 points for.
Right.
Once you break through some of the achievements.
Right.
Which you achieve by dying.
Right.
So strange.
I thought you were already dead.
I know. The first time that I died and said, this is a good thing, it was like, okay. It's like, that's a new one.
What kills you makes you stronger, huh?
Yeah, that's the first time ever, actually. So it is a unique approach, but I love the game. I really do.
Right.
As an archery game, it's probably the best one out there right now.
Right.
The mechanics. And also the impetus to keep going, that they set up for you. I know one of our friends thinks it turns you into a perpetual butcher, but...
yeah. So... Well, I'm glad you are enjoying it. I will probably pick it up soon. I've been so busy this week and doing other games and whatnot, and probably wouldn't have had the time for that one as well. So,
right.
But I will. Meanwhile, my highlights are I got a free key for Carnage Chronicles on Steam, which came out of early access yesterday, Friday, July 31st. So it's finally fully released as a game. And if you're not familiar with it, I know you've watched a little bit of the video I did on it. It's an RPG game that is made for VR only. Unlike the other RPG game that I've been playing, which was made originally for flat screen, and then there was a conversion to VR. So, in some ways, Carnage is a better VR RPG than Skyrim, because everything was done for VR from the get-go, so the mechanics work a lot better.
Right.
However, the storyline is not quite as deep, obviously. So Skyrim has a very deep, several games, several decades spanning the storyline. It's been around since the 90s or whatever.
Right.
Well, the Elder Scrolls has. And all of the games are in the same universe, and they're building on each other, referring to each other. One game has a secret that's never revealed in that game, and then a later game has an answer to the secret, or so it's all very complex and interwoven, and it's like a Tolkien novel, whereas Carnage Chronicles is more like Narnia. Equally good, but it's not as deep.
Okay.
Well, it's not as complex as that.
I was going to say, right, because you don't have all the lore that builds up over the amount of time.
Right. And Carnage Chronicles, it does have a story. And you pick up items as you go that reveal more of the lore and the backstory and whatnot. But it's not the same kind of story-driven that Skyrim is. So, but it doesn't have to be, because it's its own thing.
We don't need copies of the same game.
Right,
just
exactly.
Skin, so
Yeah, but I am enjoying it a lot. Um, I am finding, excuse me, and I don't know if it's because I'm using my Quest for it, and using virtual desktop, or if it's just how the game actually is. But I went with the archer route instead of the warrior route, and I find that it can be a little difficult to aim properly with the arrows sometimes. And I don't know if that's just because of the way I'm going about accessing it, or because of the underlying mechanic of the game itself.
Archery is a
So
tough. Archery
it can be
seems
tough, yes, yes.
because
And
we
if it's
noticed.
realistic gaming at all, it's a lot tougher than if you have a reticle,
Well,
which
yeah,
is it's cheating
that
in a way.
right. Well, that's one of the things I was going to say. It's like in death, when you're using the longbow, you have to take into account the height of your
Right,
shot, and you
right,
have to take all of that into account. Same when they're shooting at you. There are times you have to put your shield above your head.
right.
So, they're not shooting at your chest. They're raining arrows
And
down on
shooting
you.
them like that, right,
Exactly. So it's a very realistic game as
right,
opposed to, everybody just taking a straight shot and
right.
everybody's William Tell. Bam! Nothing goes up. Everything just goes straight.
Right. But overall, I like it. And it's immersive. It's cartoony, but is well done. And no, it's not too cartoony. It's not so cartoony that you don't get so caught up in it.
Right. That was the only comment I had on when I looked at the visuals of the game, because you really did a good review, and people should watch it on Silverfire Gaming. But it did look cartoony. That was the one thing,
Yeah.
especially at the beginning. And then when you were going in through the portal, there were a few times that it was a little jarring.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, going back to the Skyrim comparison, it's not on the same level of graphics, but that's a design choice that the developer made, and it's not a bad one,
I was going to say,
necessarily.
right, is that a good place to break into the Onward kerfuffle, or are we going to do that
Maybe.
later?
The other highlight is Onward came out, and we got a chance. Well, I got a chance to play it. Brad has not played it yet.
No.
He's had other stuff going on that got in the way, but he will get caught up soon.
Very soon, I promise you. By the next broadcast, you will hear me talking about nothing but.
Now, in case you are really deliberately living under a pile of boulders in the middle of Tunisia, you have probably heard that there's a lot of controversy about Onward right now. The downpour and Coach think essentially had to start from scratch and redo everything to get it optimized for the Quest. And it is still an early access title on the Quest. It says that in the game. It doesn't say that on the store, but it says that in the game
Right.
itself.
Quest not supposed to have early access games on it.
We've got a couple early access things on there, technically.
I
think Echo is still officially a beta and whatnot, So, so as a result, for the PC VR version, they wanted both the PC VR version and the Quest version to be as close to each other as possible. So the graphics on the PC version are also very downgraded. So people are not happy. They lost access to some or maybe all of the custom maps and whatnot, and a lot of them are not happy about that, which I completely understand. They were used to this really polished looking visuals, and now they've got not polished looking video or visuals.
Right.
However, on the Quest anyways, and probably on the PC too, if you didn't play it the previous way, it's not ugly per se. I mean, there are some portions of it that you look at and go, yeah, that needs a little work. Like I was in the Downfall, one of the maps, nighttime one, and I get up on the roof of a building, and I'm like, I'm well lit. I don't see a light source around me. And then as I am looking around, I look over there, and I see 2 palm trees off in the distance that are also brightly lit up in the middle of the night.
I know.
And I don't see any light sources over there near them. So
that was one of the main complaints, was that somebody went, hey, I went from having to use night vision goggles to it's daylight. You know, it's like...
Right, well, it wasn't exactly daylight. It was still night, but there were portions of it that were weirdly lit up. But all that stuff will be ironed out as they continue to make updates and whatnot. This is early access. This is not the final version. This is just the what we got on the store version. Basically, it is still very playable. It is fun. It does take a lot of getting used to compared to things like Pavlov and Contractors and Virtual Battlegrounds and whatnot, because in those games you can take a lot of hits before you are down. In this game is 1 or 2 bullets at most of the time.
Right.
So, and the one thing that I really have a complaint about with it is when you are being shot at, it constricts your vision so that it's like you are looking down a tube like this. And from my understanding, on the PC side, I don't know if it still is or it used to be, but it's a blurring of the vision rather than an absolute constriction. And if there's one thing that I absolutely hate in games is that irising for the comfort.
Some people have done it much better than others. I will say that. eSpire comes to mind.
Yeah. I mean, you get used to it if you don't have the option of turning it off and you want to play the game. You get used to it.
Right.
But I would much rather have the blurring. Because that's more realistic. I mean, I understand that they're trying to imitate the tunnel vision that you would get if a bullet actually came close to you. Mm-hmm. I get that, but not everybody gets tunnel vision in the first place. I don't.
Yeah,
I've been in some pretty scary situations, and my vision never went.
Right. You're still able to maintain your peripheral vision, even though you closed it down to focus on something else. I understand. You still maintain some peripheral vision.
Well, no. When I'm in harrowing situations, my peripheral vision expands, as it were, so that I can take in more of the situation.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So they're demanding you do something completely unnatural for you in that type of situation.
Right.
And they should give you the option of turning it off or turning it to a blur.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's my main gripe about it.
Right. I was going to say, I think they have their hands full with a lot more than your problems. I saw today they had to give detailed instructions for people on PC VR, actually pictures to show them how to get back into the beta, to get to the 1.7, and then to make sure to launch the game from the library start button and not... it just seems like they created a real problem, which is crazy because this is a year in the making.
Right.
And you look at a game like PC, like In Death, and you realize sometimes a company is just better off handing the game over to the other company they're working with that
Right.
knows how to do VR the right way for the Quest, and
Right.
let them. Because there
Yep.
obviously is a difference between mobile and non-mobile process.
Th- th- There is, and I see a lot of people commenting on, well, this just really shows the limitation of Quest hardware and the graphics ability. No, there are some really beautiful games on the Quest, so this has nothing to do with the Quest's ability to display beautiful things.
No,
I
absolutely.
mean, look at Red Matter.
Oh,
Granted, that's not a multiplayer, but look at Red Matter.
Red
You
Matter is
know?
the most gorgeous games I've ever played on any system.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
Moss,
look at Apex the Construct. It's a really cool game, and again, it's not multiplayer, but it got it's got action sequences, it's got enemies, it's got bots.
right?
So um, there are plenty of games out there that are really good looking and they can be close to realistic. Obviously, not as close as the PC can, because it is limited. But they can get a lot closer than people are saying. Well, Onward can't get any better because, well, no, it could get better. They just aren't there yet. This is,
Right.
you know, uh, to put it in marketing terms, minimally viable product. Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like the consoles. You have to understand that the best games on the consoles are usually released right before that console dies and they move on to the next one
Right.
because they have to explore what they can do with it.
Right.
And for what they've done with the Quest, being someone who started with PC VR and a Rift and a Vive,
Right.
my Quest is fine. I mean, I have no problem. As a matter of fact, I feel freer in 90% of the games than having to be within my light boxes and my wire and feel my head go backwards or whatever. This is a much freer feeling, and I could get used to the downgraded graphics a lot easier than I could get used to the wire in the back of my head again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and as time goes on and we get an actual Quest 2 instead of the Quest 1.5 that's on its way, I'm sure the Downpour would be able to upgrade the graphics once again and bring it even closer to what it used to be on the PC.
Right.
But we will be getting graphical upgrades. We will be getting bug fixes. I mean, there are a few bugs, like a few freeze frames here and there, and when you're going into a map and it's loading and it's showing you the description of the map, instead of here, it's like just down here. So you're looking down at it. All that stuff's gonna get fixed.
Right. Those are minimal
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. So everyone who's all up in arms about the graphics, I can understand why, but at the same time, they are going to be working on the graphics. That isn't okay. We're done on the graphics. This is how it's going to be.
No, I mean, that's crazy because if you've owned a Quest for any amount of time, you've seen a legitimate company just keeps improving the game as they
Right.
go. It's only the really not well-funded indies that sort of leave a game to die.
Right.
Most of the
Because they
others,
don't have the funds to keep working on it. Yeah.
well, it's like what I said to you the other day when we were talking about Trover, and they said that it just doesn't pay to make a AAA game for VR at the same week that Phantom Covert Ops sold over $1 million worth in less than 2 weeks. So,
Right. Right.
no, that doesn't really hold water. That argument does not
Right.
hold water. So,
Right.
But once again, like with you, I feel if I went out and I spent that kind of money specifically for that game and bought a graphics card like a 1080 or a 2080 and then
Right.
with Quest graphics, I'd be disappointed.
Well, yeah. I can understand that, but all I'm saying is, guys, be patient.
Right.
You will get the graphics back.
And they put you back to 1.7.
Yeah. Yeah, you will get the graphics back. It'll look pretty again.
Right.
Just give them time because they want to maintain the optimization, and they want to maintain parity between the Rift version and the Quest version. Because if on the Rift version you have complex animated grass and 20 trees in between one house and the next house, and on the Quest you have 2 trees and a single blade of grass, well, guess what? The Quest player is going to have an advantage because he can see you where you can't see him.
Well, not only that, don't you want an active player base?
Yes, exactly.
So, what are you going to do? Cut out the millions of people that are going to come in through the Quest
Right.
while this game is limping along on the PC at this point. So you should welcome the Quest player base
Right.
and just...
And yeah, they will find the best way to maintain parity and improve the graphics for both systems.
Right.
That is coming.
And I believe that the comparison that people make between Quest and PC is just unfair to begin with.
Yeah.
And because then again, as soon as you mention graphics, somebody can mention the wire or the light boxes or whatever it is that they want to. So,
or the fact that, well, it's not recognizing my USB 2 port today.
Right, exactly, exactly. Or my Thunderbolt. I had a Thunderbolt port, and now I need a Display port too.
Right.
I mean, it's like, yes.
Right.
So I agree with you. And obviously, we're Quest players in mobile VR. Having come from PC VR to mobile VR, I can say that the Quest is more than adequate for 98% of the people playing it.
Yes. So anyways, I think we've beaten that Onward horse to death a little bit. So let's move on to upcoming games. We're not sure if there are any upcoming games next week. I think that I heard something about a game coming out next week, but it's escaping my mind what it is. So my apologies if you were waiting for us to talk about the game that you're looking forward to. Feel free to whip us in the comments if you want.
Chastise us. But yeah, I mean, with all the games they released in July and all of the fanfare, they were all such major game releases.
That kind of overwhelmed anything else,
Yeah. Even the people who were buying them, it was like, wait, another one this week?
Yeah.
Really? Another one?
Yep. So moving on to good news is good news, and no good news is good news, and bad good news is good news. Maybe.
Okay, moving on.
Yes. TLDR, moving on. The news. This is the news item you put on our board. Microsoft's contribution to Blender is a win-win for the 3D community. So you want to tell us more about that?
Sure. Microsoft has announced that Blender is going to, I believe that they incorporated Blender into their operating system, or they have plans on it.
Okay.
And they're also they're putting their weight behind Blender. I don't know why, because it seems to go against Microsoft's money thing. But they seem to be very, very much behind Blender and making Blender work for new VR and AR artists.
Right.
And I think that they see that it's a much less expensive way to produce a nice looking product or asset. And Microsoft is doing some really weird things. I mean, they're buying TikTok.
Right.
I mean, I'm looking at Microsoft now, and I'm like, I can't answer anymore because I was trying to, and I'm realizing as I'm dancing, no, you're going to have to ask somebody else why they're doing it, because they're just like all over the place. When I read about Blender, I was really happy because Blender does deserve to be supported, and a company like Microsoft makes it.
Yeah, and I know Blender was already working on VR integration with it.
Right.
So
So yeah, I thought that was a great thing just for Blender to be able to be supported on such a wide scale. But then I've been reading about what Microsoft has been doing this week and what they've been acquiring, and I have no idea what's going on in Microsoft, to be very honest with you.
Well, Microsoft is kind of like, um, except for the being an evil entity that's bent on destroying the world, it's kind of like Hydra, in that it's got multiple arms that are doing all sorts of things at the same time. So
That's true. It does. It does. And they are trying to, I guess, unify everything. Remember, they put Windows mixed reality into their operating system and didn't invest in making VR work. I mean, they never went into the hardware. I don't understand it at all.
yeah. Speaking of that, I have yet to try to see if that works with a virtual desktop setup. I don't even know. It might.
Right? It might be.
I know it works with Steam and Oculus, but I don't know if it works with Windows Mixed Reality. Probably not, but I don't know.
Once again, I don't know because now I'm reading that Valve just patented their wireless headset, and that just happened like yesterday or the day before.
Well, no, that was a patent that had been there or filed a while back, but it was just published or whatever.
Right. In other words,
yeah.
Everybody is publishing what they're going to be doing that they
or what they might be doing.
Right, because everybody's jumping ahead, and as they keep leapfrogging, plans change.
Yep.
So,
and for the record, I think it is very cool that Valve is looking at a wireless interface for their headsets, because that makes sense. Because that is probably the biggest hang-up for the PC users, the wire.
Right.
I mean, back when we were doing the Echo Arena Rookie Tournament, I was waiting in between matches, and I had my Quest plugged in. And I was trying to do just a little half-hearted warming up in between. I think I pulled the cable out a couple times, and then like half an hour I was doing it.
First time I played Echo on PC VR, I got so scrambled up in the playing Echo, you cannot not turn around. It's just impossible and play.
Right.
So that wire becomes, graphically it's much nicer on the PC, but
the wire is a killer. Yeah. I mean, I watch a Wolf in VR and other YouTubers go through their the gameplay videos, and they're facing this way, and then there's a flight of stairs as they're going up this way, and rather than turn that way, they have to do this.
Right.
Turn all the way around the other way to get up there, because there are quarters after around them, and if they just turn right, it'll break their quarter.
Well, as a PC, like I said originally, as a PC VR user, there are some games that it really didn't get in the way, and just the beauty of it was overwhelming. And you could play a 20-minute game and think it was fantastic, but now we're years into VR, and you don't want a 20-minute game anymore. And
I never wanted a 20-minute game.
Oh no, there were some 20-minute games that were really intense.
Yeah.
The one that I was talking about last week was not Titanfall; it was Titan Slayer, and that game is awesome because the creatures that you face are literally, you have to look up, you have to literally crane your neck to look up at them as they're down on you, which is something they haven't gotten down on the Quest. That.
Some of them, some experiences, yeah. The Shadow of the Colossus. If that were in VR, that would really give you a sense of scale.
Exactly. And sometimes you want that, but they achieved that even with like games on the go, like Rangi, which took you up to different heights and things.
Right.
You know, a good designer, a good developer can really give you the illusion that they want, even in 3DOF. So with 6DOF, it's...
Right. Right. I mean, there were some great games on the Go and the Gear VR that were not 20-minute demos, that were full-fledged games. You know, like what I think most of them were like 1.5 to 2 hours for a full game on those, but there were some that were even longer.
Oh, Republic.
Yeah.
That was like an 8-hour game. I mean,
right. Right. So, you know, but yeah, it's exciting to see, and hopefully all of the platforms can to find a way to do away with the wires.
Yeah, that's basically what we need, because that was the thing I was going to get at, was they are as much of a drag on a game as anything else that could possibly happen to you in gameplay. You just don't want to be held back like that. Now that I'll put it to you this way. I have it was a kid here the other day, 6 years old. Okay, and he saw me, and I was playing a game, and I was climbing, and he saw me climbing, and he heard me talking to other people while I was playing. And when I took off the headset, he said, "Were you alone, or are there other people with you?" And I explained that I was playing with other people, and that we were, you know, playing in this field somewhere. And he said to me, "Oh, so those are like a portal." And I'm thinking, okay, I want this kid to explain to every adult I know exactly what's going on, because he gets it. You know? So I think that the new developers is basically what I'm getting at. The next generation of developers to whom this becomes natural will create amazing games. Yeah. Right.
Right. Yep. I agree. Speaking of Microsoft and potentially amazing games even. I don't know what a game is. Microsoft Flight Simulator will be supporting VR, but only one Windows Mixed Reality headset so far. I think it's the Reverb 2 that it is supporting.
Well, that's the new...
There'll be support for more coming out, obviously, afterward. But at launch, it'll only be Windows Mixed Reality and the Reverb 2. So, but it is cool that they are releasing a game that has VR support in it.
Yes, it's about time that they did something like that. I think we'll see more of that too from them coming at this point.
Yeah.
They know it's not just a fad at this point, I think.
Right.
And I think everybody coming down on the Xbox and saying that, no, they're not interested in VR, and no, they're not. I think they're in for a surprise.
Maybe. Speaking of PC VR, something that I should not mention to you because you're going to want to go out and buy it again. The Xtel Novbox, or I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce that, but the Xtel headset and a gaming PC in a rugged military-like box. Comes as a unit, and it's designed for travel and portability, and it'll probably cost like $5,000.
The stripped-down model.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took one look at that, and I just decided I can't look at this anymore, or I'm going to do something I'm going to regret later on. So I just... But it looks...
And your wife will be beating you up about.
Oh, yeah. But not just a few times. That would be... Yeah. Yeah, but it looks great. I mean, it really has such an appeal. This rugged VR headset with that rugged game case. Oh my God. Okay, move on, please.
So, Nvidia is reportedly in talks to buy ARM. ARM, as you may know, is the manufacturer of our beloved software on a chip that drives the Quest, among a whole bunch of other things, mostly mobile. you know,
Yeah.
but they are basically a CPU manufacturer, all-in-one CPU, GPU stuff. And Nvidia is reportedly in talks to buy them. SoftBank, the owner of ARM, has been looking to sell them. And while this might not happen because Nvidia is a customer of ARM and is a competing customer with other customers, so it's like a potential conflict of interest, so antitrust things are, it's going to be looked at very, very closely. But if it does happen, that could mean some pretty big things for VR and AR, I think.
Well, it would be absolutely amazing because I don't know how many people know that Nvidia has already created a supercomputer on a chip. We're talking about, most people don't realize what Nvidia is capable of.
Right.
We talk about them in a gaming mode and that type of thing, but these guys are like Tesla in the automotive. They've changed everything and they write the rules. So if they could get their hands on ARM, we're going to be walking around with Quest 3s by the end of the year. So,
maybe.
Well, they'll have that potential possibility.
Right. It'll probably cost like $1,000 just for the chip.
Right.
And that's the bulk price.
Well, give it a year. You might not own it the first week it comes out, but I would love to see them do that because Nvidia really does deserve it, and I think ARM does make a good enough product that if Nvidia took over, that would be a great boost for us.
Right, and I mean the ARM chips are great for what they are, but if Nvidia got even heavier involved in manufacturing them and designing them and improving them, then, like you said, we could have the equivalent of, say, a 1080 in a mobile form factor.
Exactly. And not in a very long time. That's the amazing part. So yes, I would love to see that happen. I was thrilled when I saw that.
Yeah. So that was unexpected news that I saw that was like, oh, hey, not directly VR related, but it is very VR related.
It's very
potentially.
Related, yes, and AR as well. So
yes. So speaking of things launching and being armed and whatnot, Multiverse continues to host live watch parties for rocket launches. This past week, as you may have heard, we had NASA launch the 2020 Mars rover. And if you were awake at the right time, you were able to watch it with other people in Multiverse. So,
which is cool. This multiverse really does need to improve its positioning. I mean, they can be a great place.
Well, I mean, this is what it was designed for.
Right.
Stuff like this, being able to do a pop-up event thing like this, or throw together a custom planetarium room for discussing whatever. I mean, they had a COVID room a while back where there was full of information about COVID and the coronavirus and viruses in general, and so it's a good environment for that. The only issue that I have is I'm not entirely a fan of the avatars, and I greatly prefer smooth locomotion, but unless they have fixed it, the smooth locomotion is like...
It was awful. You had to transport. You got sick trying to use smooth locomotion.
Yeah, and I'm like, I love smooth locomotion. I don't get sick, but that was annoying me.
Yeah. No, I get you. And especially you're in a museum. You want to be able to take your time. And, it's like I said before when we were talking in depth, I use all three forms of locomotion.
Right.
Please give me more forms of locomotion. Why are you limiting me?
Right. Right. But those relatively minor gripes aside, it is a pretty great app. And they've got more stuff coming. When I first tried it out, when it at first it came out, they had a room dedicated to here are some hints about what else we are working on and what else might come and whatnot.
Right.
They've got a lot of stuff that's in the works too. So.
Right, they had like 3 rooms open, I think, when they first opened, and they were only partially built. So
Right.
I have to go back and take a look at it again. But yeah, I remember the avatars not being the greatest, and I do remember the locomotion being very jarring to say the least.
Yes. Yes, that was a guaranteed way to make people motion sick. I didn't see if they fixed that last time I was in there because I was going to go in there to watch with my son, but took forever to get him ready, and then he had issues with the tutorial because for some reason his Quest was not connected to Wi-Fi, and we didn't know that. So it on the first boot, it goes, are you right or left-handed? Are you standing or sitting down? Okay, here comes the rest of the tutorial. And we had to figure out what was going on. I uninstalled it, and then I went to reinstall it, and it wouldn't reinstall. And so I looked at the Wi-Fi and went, oh, Wi-Fi is not on.
Ah. That'll do it, huh?
So, long story short, we missed it. It was already out of the atmosphere by the time we got in there. So we didn't hang around long in there, and but so I didn't get a chance to see if they had fixed the smooth locomotion or not. So
right, must have been disappointing though. Anyway,
a little bit, yeah. But moving on. Also, speaking of launching, Altspace launches a pilot program for speech captioning and translation in VR. They're only doing it on like the last Wednesday of every month. There's an event, and there are steps that you have to do beforehand to enable it, or choose your language or whatever. But it is very good that they are working on that, because I have had issues in Altspace being able to hear people because I am hard of hearing and I can't wear my hearing aid when I'm in Altspace. And Altspace is one of those apps where they seem to have the max volume turned down below what the Quest actual max volume is. So someone in the app may be talking at the volume I'm talking right now, but what I hear is more like this. Like 10 decibels quieter.
Right.
So
that's a tough one sometimes, but yeah, they have to get that corrected. But it is tough to equalize sound for different headsets, that's for sure.
I'm always a fan of give the users the fine-grained control of the audio. Let us decide if we need it turned up higher than you think is safe. Because I'm hard of hearing. I need it turned up higher, otherwise I'm not going to hear it.
Right. They have to get it to hit whatever they're recording on. They have to get it to hit just above green into the first red zone where it's not going to cause distortion, and you'd be able to put it to whatever level you want.
Right. And I'm using these bone conduction headsets, so it's not even going into my ear canals when I'm doing that. So too loud isn't really a factor with that because it's not going in the same way.
Right. Yeah, I could see where that would be a problem for their audio engineer too, but they should fix that for sure.
Yeah. So I think it is really great that they are working on that and getting it up and running. I can't wait till it's fully available.
Well,
that'd be cool.
I just hope they do a better job than YouTube did on their closed captioning.
Yes. Watching VR Oasis's video where he was doing Onward, I think, and they were going on a water vessel and talking about the people who work on the vessel. Like, YouTube, that's not what he said.
In rewatching some of our podcasts, it's like, wait, I never said that. And I'm listening to myself, and what's being written on the screen is not what I'm saying. So
I know. Yes. I know. It can be really messed up sometimes.
Really, really bad sometimes. So I'm hoping they do a better job than YouTube, and then give the algorithm to YouTube, please.
Yeah. In other news, moving on, Oculus is now officially supporting OpenXR 1.0 as of version 19 of the Oculus software. So I don't know when exactly the first OpenXR app will hit, but at some point there will be a developer who has an OpenXR app and it's on the Oculus Store. So,
which will be great.
Yeah. Which means that they can develop the same app for Quest, for Rift, for Steam, for Pico Goblin, for Windows MR, anything that supports OpenXR, they'll be able to have create it once, deploy it for the various platforms that they only create it once.
Right, which is going to be great. That's going to be so nice when it finally gets adopted. I wonder which version we'll be up to when it finally gets adopted on a mainstream.
I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, it's something I am looking forward to. Now, I think that there might, I have know all the details of it, but there might be some limitations because it's a more universal thing. It might be limited in the same way that a web app is limited compared to a native app.
Yeah.
A native app has access to a whole lot more operating level or operating system level stuff so than the web app does. But maybe in the officially supporting of the standard, they have to provide hooks to their stuff.
Right.
So, I don't know. I haven't really looked into the developer aspect of that yet. So.
Yeah, that's going to be a heck of an algorithm. I mean, that would really take a lot of work to be able to deploy to every platform with one basic program. So, yeah, you're going to have to work it. That's why I said it'll probably be OpenXR3 by the time that it's actually functioning so that everybody can use it.
Right.
But still, they're working.
Yeah, it is still very good. It's a good news that it is here. That means an opening up of things and making it potentially easier for people to develop for them. So,
right, which is great.
Always a good thing. In other news, it looks like the VR is dead crowd is resurfacing yet again, saying that numbers don't look good for VR growth. I saw on Twitter earlier today someone who I will not name saying that if we think things are rosy in the VR world, we are deluding ourselves, basically, because we have abysmal numbers. Only 2% of Steam users use the headset, and this and that, and I get where he is coming from. We are not where we want to be. I know a lot of us were hoping that, especially as a result of all the coronavirus stuff, that we'd see a boom in the VR industry and adoption. And we are seeing a little bit of that, but not nearly as much as we were hoping for, because, to be honest, yes, especially on the PC side, there is still a very high barrier to entry. And on the mobile side, aka the Quest, there's been a dearth of supply.
Correct. That's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would think that the lack of sales is strictly due to the limitation of how many are available at this point. It really has nothing to do with how many people want it. because you can't keep them in stock. So obviously, enough people want it that it's not dead.
Right, and our own Michael, Purple Mikey, he has said repeatedly that his brother and a couple friends of his want it, but because it wasn't available when they wanted it and were ready to order, they decided not to order.
Right.
Because it wasn't available.
Exactly, and it is somewhat of an impulse buy. I mean, it's not. Yes, you have to really want it, but it has to be there when you want it.
Right.
Because you're not going to come back again.
Right. Well, not everybody will, right.
Right.
Some people will. Other people won't, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, at the same time, we're looking at the numbers that we can see of the sales and the number of studios that are making $1 million and more in 2 weeks. This is still a very growing industry. Just because this period of time that we were hoping would be a big boost to it didn't prove to be a big boost, it doesn't mean that we're not doing good. It just means that we didn't get that big boost.
It's the same way that Zoom got the boost as opposed to meetings or...
Right. Zoom got the boost because it was already there and available.
Right.
Quest didn't get the boost because
it wasn't there.
The supply wasn't there,
right? And
because it wasn't free. So Zoom had that going for it too.
That's true, but I mean, in the sense that, like the Under just presented the Tempest, which is still going on, which I haven't seen yet, but I've heard about it, and it looks amazing, just the concept, which automatically lets you realize that they'll be able to do this for you and provide you with a 3-dimensional interactive audience participation show.
Right.
And all you need is actually to own the headset, and all they need to do is make enough so that you can.
Okay.
And all of those actors and actresses who are out of work in Hollywood and all of these places where the venues are now closed, they don't have to be. They have a place to go to.
Right.
And when they realize that, maybe they'll put some more money into it. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. But yeah, every now and then the VR is dead crowd resurfaces, and and they only look at the negative stuff, and they're not looking at the positive stuff, which that we are still growing. We're just not growing as fast as we were hoping. Which I get, it's disappointing. We all wanted it to be further along than we are right now.
True.
But at the same time, who thought that we'd be where we are right now in regards to, especially to the Quest? I know a lot of people were like, oh, that would never run on the Quest. And now here it is a year later, and that's been out for 7 months.
We're also comparing pancake games and computers have been around for how long? And VR has been around for how long? So, it's like how many people have a 4K 85-inch TV compared to a high-def 45 or 50-inch TV? I mean, it's when did you jump into the game? And to try and make a comparison today as to something that was created 100 years ago and something that was created 5 years ago just doesn't make sense.
Right. So, it's not exactly a fair assessment so they're making, though they do have some good points, which is that the barrier to entry to PC VR is still high, but the barrier to Quest entry is a lot lower. It's the same as a console.
Right.
Well, just decide I'm not going to get the new PlayStation. I'm not going to get the new Xbox. I'll get a Quest instead. I'll keep my existing PlayStation, my existing Xbox, and I'll get the Quest.
And that is what it boils down to, is you have to think of it more of as a console because of the amount of games that are available now. Just because they're available to download digitally, the Xbox S, which was digital.
I mean, most of the consoles out there now are doing digital downloads, at least in addition to the physical downloads.
I haven't bought a physical copy of it game in years.
Yeah, and on my the PC, if I wanted, I play Paladins from time to time. I never went out to a store and bought a Paladins disc. I downloaded it from the website.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's like, to me, the idea of going out and having to buy hard copy anymore is so 1980s. I mean,
It's so 1990s.
That's the future, man. Yeah, but it is kind of ridiculous that people would keep saying VR is dead as opposed to just following its progress. It's not dead. It's moving along. And if people haven't noticed, the supply chains for a lot of products broke over the last several months. And
exactly. That's
single one that is in a growth spurt, and that you have every major tech company invested in right now. I mean, what we've just talked about in this one show between Microsoft and Valve and Facebook, you know,
Nvidia.
Right, exactly. Name all of these companies. And what are they involved in? VR and AR. That's where their focus is, on growth. So all these people who say that it's dead should be looking at the guy that's making the machine that's creating them, you know, because it's not dead. It's just so.
Right.
But,
all right. And our next to last news piece, Polyarc gets a Captioned fusion to go AR on the next title. I think you know a little bit more about that story than I do.
Yeah, that one really...
I didn't run across it, so...
Okay, yeah, that one really took me by surprise because Moss was probably, you said Red Matter, which I agree is... But Moss, visually, on the Quest, I dare anybody to tell me that that is not a beautiful game. I felt like I was in a Disney cartoon. I mean, it was that detailed, you know.
Oh, only better done than a Disney cartoon.
Right, because I was there and participating. But Polyarc, who did it, and their graphics were amazing, truly amazing.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, really, everything about it was really unique and great.
Except for the amount of times she died, right?
Oh my God! On that one platform with the metal. I will say this: Trover doesn't take that. He gives you lip when you do that to him. You know, if he dies, Trover will say to you, "Listen, you want to get in here? Play VR much? Do you?" You know. So but so Polyarc is going AR. Which is an indication, I think, that, first of all, VR is not dead, and second of all, that AR is going to experience a growth spurt really soon. Yeah. That probably a lot of people are not expecting.
Right. I would agree with that. I mean, we have Unreal poised to officially launch and hopefully to take off. We have Apple with their AR glasses at some point, you know, so Facebook's working on AR glasses.
And nobody's working on just glasses anymore. They're working on ways to focus on your retina. They're working on ways to really bring this to you. You know, it's like, these were toys.
Oh, now, and I forgot to add this to the news, but Scarred Ghost on Twitter wrote an article on his blog about the AR contact lenses and how they are further along than people should think, and they might just have a commercially viable AR and not the corrective product in like 3 to 5 years.
Oh,
which seems a long way out still, but that's really not that far.
No, they've prototyped it. So, I mean, if you've prototyped, then it's a matter of refinement, not a matter of recreation.
Right, exactly. So, our last bit of news, the 2019 Launchpad scholarship winners have been announced, and the 2020 applications are open. What that is, is an Oculus initiative where they take 100 new developers to join them for 2 days of hands-on learning and a boot camp, so basically, and then invite them to to continue the momentum through Oculus to Connect. And then they had 4 months to build a prototype to be submitted for consideration as part of the Launchpad Scholarship Program. And the Launchpad winners were announced technically yesterday on the 31st. And some of them are pretty cool looking. There is Detour Bus, which is a casual virtual reality construction comedy game where players build complex winding highways around themselves in 3D space to take the Flores family on a road trip across a post-infrastructure America. So, and there's another one called Luna, Episode 1, which is an interactive animated VR series about the journey between and friendship between you and a little girl who becomes a cyborg after her life-saving surgery. Her life takes a turn when the AI has become infected by an OS update and starts killing humans. Hunted by the droids and rejected by the humans, Luna has no place to go. You, a commercial droid, encounter her and somehow become uninfected. As you fill in the role of her parent to protect her, her purity starts to shine in this hopeless apocalyptic world. So, yeah, there are some cool games in here. There's another asymmetrical game called Mend, asymmetric cooperative platformer. One is VR and the other is a flat screen. And it says, you can't quite make that jump? Ask if your VR buddy can help bridge the gap. Do you suspect something sneaky or your fellow platformer may have missed? Reach out with your touch controllers and investigate the scene for invisible secrets.
Cool.
So there are some cool titles in there. If you want to see all of them, I recommend going to the Oculus blog and looking at them. And if you are a developer who wants to get in on that, the 2020 applications are now open until August 20th, I believe. Let me double check. Yes. Launchpad 2020 applications are now open through August 20th. So.
And if you are interested, it's an excellent program to get involved with. So
yeah.
Give it a shot.
Yeah. So I look forward to seeing what the next group of Launchpad finalists to come up with. So
yeah, me too.
And seeing if any of them make it onto the store.
Well, yeah, good luck. The only thing that gives me hope is VR carts.
I bet they were not a Launchpad.
I would hope not. I really would. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to create now that VR is not such a unique thing to them. Right. Like I was saying before, let's see what they can do. What's the next step? What game do you want to create that's going
Right. So, and on that note, that brings us to the end of our journey through the Untethered Unreality lands.
Unsourced.
Yeah. Uncharted, untethered lands of unreality. How's that?
Okay. I'll buy it.
All right. On that note, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you. Not many people do, I think. So you may be the first one. I don't know.
Wow. If you are, let us know.
Yes.
We'll mention you on the next show.
Yeah. So on that note, like, subscribe, drag your friends over, and have them like and subscribe. Also, have a good week. Bye.
Bye.